Don't get left behind. Right now on the planet, there is a shift in consciousness happening, and we collectively are moving into a different level of consciousness. And the challenge is that if we remain attached to the old paradigms of living, if we remain attached to things that are lowering our vibration, that are making us feel resistance, stressed out, then what happens is we remain only able to perceive what is equal to those realities. So one thing you want to really become aware of moving forward is how you feel and how your environment is rubbing off on you. So that's actually the first step to this process and the first sign that you are raising your frequency to what we could call the new earth. I'll talk more about this, and I'll share some books about this as well that will completely change your life. But when you are around and surrounded by people that might be not good for your energy, maybe they gaslight you, maybe they talk down to you, maybe you have a vision for something you want to experience in your life, but when you're around them, it's kind of like you almost feel ashamed to share it because you're afraid they're going to feel small, or if you do, you're embarrassed by what they will think. One thing you really want to become aware of moving forward is your environment and the people you surround yourself with, because that is influencing your vibration in many ways. And what is happening and what I'm going to be sharing with you today is we're going to be getting a little bit esoteric and a little bit weird. And I say that, I've shared some of these concepts before, but I say that because I'm going to share some things with you that I've not been afraid to share on my YouTube channel, but are just a little bit different, a little bit more esoteric. One of that has to do with the work of Dolores Cannon. So Dolores Cannon talks a lot about what is called the new earth and how we are shifting from one kind of way of being into a new. Her work, which was 40 years of hypnotherapy sessions with her clients, so it's really not her coming out with the information. It was what she recognized in patterns of thousands of people all over the world. When they would get to a very deep level of hypnosis, their subconscious mind would come through and was able to share some very interesting things about what is happening on the planet. So interesting things from their own lives and what is happening on the planet. And when people would get to this deep level of hypnosis, many of them would say very similar things. They would say things like, I came here to be a part of this shift. I came here to be a part of this raising in vibration on the planet. And I knew it was going to be difficult. I knew that I was going to completely forget that I was an eternal spiritual being living a temporary human experience. But I came here to remember and to help with the collective raise to a higher frequency. We came here to do this together. She has 19 books out, I believe, 17 or 19. I always mix up the number. But it talks a lot about this. I'm going to be sharing some quotes with that today. I'm going to be reading some other articles and kind of sharing with you my perspectives on the Age of Aquarius and also how to know you're moving into this new earth, this 5D energy, and what you can do to realize this within yourself to also shift to this higher frequency. Now, another thing I'll share with you guys is I got a reading from Bashar. So Bashar is kind of like an Abraham Hicks type thing. It's like a channel. He's been around since the 80s. And his teachings and just the teachings in general have very profoundly impacted my life. So I had a personal reading with him about 1.5 years ago when it was my buddy Victor and I each got a reading from him. And when we were talking to him, one of the things he said is we were talking about everything that's happening on the planet right now. And he was talking about how the situation of what's happening, how the world's shut down and all this stuff, this is a part of the shifting into a new paradigm and also the shifting of parallel realities. So one thing that he said is that as we move forward, we are perceiving a reality that is equal to our level of consciousness. And everybody else on the planet is perceiving of a reality that is equal to their level of consciousness. And what is happening is for a period of time right now, we are able to perceive of our own reality overlaid with everybody else. So you might look into the world and see there's crazy stuff happening, and maybe there's some people that are watching the news, that are believing what they're told, that are buying into the fear, and guess what? They will experience more and more of that reality because that's the vibration they're putting out. And on the other side of that, I don't watch the news. I know there's stuff going on in the world, but it doesn't affect me nearly as much. And I'm very mindful of where I put my own energy. And because of that, some people are like, well, what about there's a splitting of parallel realities happening, and people are choosing their reality right now on the planet. So one of the signs that you are experiencing the shift into the new earth is you're starting to see contrast. You're starting to see contrast. You're starting to see that there are some people that might believe in the media and they're very bought into everything, and they're talking about this thing that you have to get, and when you go in, you got to put this thing on your face, and they're really maybe driven by fear of that. And that's a reality that is valid and exists. On the other side of that, there's people where that doesn't affect them as much. And what's interesting is even within America itself, if you look to like the United States as an example, you could go to different states where it's completely different rules from one state to the other. That's a sign that there's this splitting that is happening. And some people are choosing the reality they choose to be in. One of the ways is your environment, like I said in the beginning. I chose to move from Vegas to Austin, Texas. One of the reasons is there's a lot more freedom here. And that is easier for my own values and what I choose to live in. I remember sometimes I would go from Austin to Vegas, or Austin to like even Sedona, or Sedona actually wasn't that bad, but to LA, for example. And I wasn't used to the level of restriction and the level of rules that there were there. Where it's like, you have to do this, you have to do that. What are you doing? And it's like, whoa, I'm from Austin, Texas, okay? We got freedom over there. But the reason I'm sharing this doesn't mean you have to move to a different state or anything like that, by the way, as I'm saying this. But what I'm saying is there is a splitting of parallel realities that's happening on the planet. And the way that Bashar described it in my reading was imagine there's these glass walls that are separating us from these different rooms. Now, some people might be in the room of fear and belief in the media, and they might be buying into that and very emotionally charged with that. And we can look through the glass wall and see that that's their reality, see that that's what they're experiencing. But we don't have to choose to engage in it. We don't have to choose to go to that room, even though we can see it. And one of the things with this shift in consciousness that's happening is we're going to still be able to overlay these different realities for a while. And that's okay. The choice, though, is do I move into it? Do I buy into it? Do I get into a lot of fear? And that's what you want to become aware of moving forward as we move into this. Now, recently, I'm going to share with you some other vulnerable things and just some things I'm realizing from my own life. But recently, I did a video with Brocka Goldsmith is her name. She's a world-renowned astrologer. I went onto her channel. She came onto mine, and we talked a little bit about the Age of Aquarius. So a quick reminder as well is with all the craziness happening in the world, we are going to be rising above it energetically in a 3-day Own Your Vibe challenge that starts on March 18th, 19th, and 20th. This is a 3-day transformational experience. It is absolutely free. And I'm going to be going live on YouTube. I'm going to be going live, and there's going to be a challenge, like a high vibe group. We're going to be going through a process of transforming our vibration from the inside out. And the main focus of it is going to be get in our own frame, getting in our own body, embodying who we really came here to be, and so that we can set boundaries easily, we can be leading in our own life and in our own frame and not diffusing our energy out to everything that's happening in the world, other people's emotional state. And we're going to learn how to raise our vibe and then keep it high. So if you want to join the Own Your Vibe Challenge, we're starting soon, March 18th, 19th, and 20th. There's only so many spots available, but it is completely free. So click the link below, grab your spot, and I'm looking forward to see you on those 3 days of transformation. The Age of Aquarius is what a lot of astrologers have been aware of for a long time. And the Age of Aquarius is, when it comes to astrology, we're moving out of the Age of Pisces and into the Age of Aquarius. Now, the energy we're moving out of is an energy of doing what you're told, everyone being the same, in the sense that, like, you have a lot of people that are, I guess you say, that are just going through the motions and in their 9-to-5 job that maybe they're not passionate about, but everyone is very safe in that level of consciousness. And we're moving into the Age of Aquarius. The Age of Aquarius is about progressive thought. It's new ideas. It's new levels of technology. It's new levels of community. It's new levels of connection. It's a new way of being. I think that what you're seeing in the world right now is the ending, which is the age of Pisces, which is also what we call the third dimension state of consciousness. There's 3D and 5D. And I'll explain, these are little like pop culture, spiritual terms that I know might trigger some of you, but 3D to 5D is what we're moving into. The third dimension, the 3D level of consciousness is that of the control that you see. It's that of like really focused on the body and like the physicalness of, there's people that I believe that know in this age of Pisces, I guess you could say, that for thousands of years have remained a certain level of control where there are people on the planet that know that if you keep the collective in fear and if you keep them reactive and you keep them in that level of consciousness, they're much easier to control. And when I went through my awakening in 2012, I started to become aware of this because, I'll share this with you guys, there's someone I know that I've known my whole entire life that has been a part of some type of thing that has to do with some underground, like, is an underground facility, and this person has been around and seen things that many of us wouldn't even believe is true when it comes to what is really going on at some of these underground facilities that are all around the world. That and when you say underground, I mean literally, like metaphorically, but also like literally. There are these underground facilities where they do experiments, where they have insider information, similar to some of the stuff that you've seen on maybe Joe Rogan when it comes to like Bob Lazar and stuff with alien technology and stuff like that. But there are people on the planet that know, and that's protected, by the way. The government has the army that protects these bases, but it's not even just the government. There's private corporations that own different parts of it that are doing different experiments and things like that. And there is a hierarchy and everything like that. But I've known someone that worked in an underground facility for 30 years. That is somebody that I trust and somebody that I can tell was being very genuine and sharing things that also were very similar to other people that have done that have come forward. I guess you call them whistleblowers. But basically, they've said that the government knows 100% that ETs exist, that there is many things that have been hidden from the collective and stuff like that. But there are also people that know that if you keep people in fear and anger, they're just much easier to control, and it's much easier to keep the power dynamics going that have been going for such a long period of time. Now, if you shift for a second, so we talked about, let me kind of finish the thread real quick when we're talking about the Age of Aquarius when it comes to astrology. One thing in my own life that I'm realizing I'm getting tired of doing is regurgitating the same damn content over and over again. Maybe you've seen some of my videos before where I'm talking about certain things. You're like, hey, we talked about this in another video. I'm very aware of this dynamic, okay? Now, the thing is for a long time in the age of Pisces, I guess you could say, it was all about like finding out what works. And I'd see there's certain topics that do really well. So I'd recreate those topics in so many different ways, even if I said it in many ways before. But I've hired somebody, for example, that's also helping me grow my YouTube channel that I pay, $5,000 a month to help me do. And it's like I'm invested in this growth on YouTube. But what I'm realizing is a lot of what we're doing is more so like finding things that work, looking at my older videos, and it feels kind of restrictive. I feel like I'm in a little bit of a box with this. So what I've realized, and when I was talking to Braca about the Age of Aquarius, is the Age of Aquarius is all about doing and talking about what you're passionate about, being different, even if different means being a little bit weird, owning who you are and doing it in your own way. And also, most importantly, with this Age of Aquarius, it's about being in your passion when you do what you do. The old paradigm of doing things out of fear, maybe I'm making videos out of fear because I don't want to lose the momentum or whatever it is, doesn't work anymore like that. The key is being passionate about what you're doing and doing it in your own way, in your own unique way. So one thing that my intention is to do is to actually go live once a week on YouTube. It's to go live once a week on YouTube, to engage with people on YouTube, to do live meditations for activating the collective consciousness, because I believe we're all connected, and as we come together with unified intention, we can literally transform the planet. And I have this idea of doing that, but I've been told that might not do as well. Live algorithm is different than the regular algorithm. And I'm realizing now that the Age of Aquarius is about not being attached to the outcome, but doing what is most passionate. Because you listening to this video, if I'm passionate about the content, you can feel that. If I'm not passionate about the content and I'm just going through the motions and regurgitating the content, you can feel that. Let me know. Like this video, comment below if that resonates with you, if you can confirm that. You can feel how I feel about the topic. And because I'm passionate about this video, even though it's a little bit esoteric, you can probably feel that there's more passion there than normal. Now, the Age of Aquarius is about understanding that people feel what you feel. So the key is you following your passion and your purpose. That is one of the main parts of the Age of Aquarius. There's this quote here, find online. It says, who will be affected by the Age of Aquarius? Now, in general, I think this is something we're collectively going through, but as we're talking about with this whole, splitting, you can still perceive in the other glass rooms if you prefer. But if you are a person who loves freedom, originality, and justice, you'll love the Aquarian periods in history. Social movements are a mark of Aquarian times, equality and progress. Now, what this is about being the real you. This is about being different, owning who you are, even if that is different, and being bold, but also following your purpose. Stop living in the 3D, realize you came here to be bold. We'll talk more about Dolores Cannon in a minute because I think that'll inspire you. But we came here to shake shit up. So very important quick reminder is that every single Sunday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time or 12 o'clock Eastern Time, we come together for a live meditation, a live teaching, and a live Q&A here on this YouTube channel. So if you haven't checked that out yet, I highly recommend joining one of those. There's an energy that grows every single week when we do it. And we not only change our own lives by tapping into this group collective energy, but it's changing the energy of the planet. So if you want to join in on this, if you want to experience it, then hit the subscribe button below and the notification bell so that you can get notified when we go live every single Sunday. We didn't come here just to keep the old 3D paradigm alive, to keep working a 9-to-5 job we hate, to keep the freaking hamster wheel going. That's the old paradigm. It is time to make a shift into your power and to realize that you came here to be a part of this shift in consciousness. So now for Dolores Cannon. So let me talk for a minute about Dolores Cannon. Now, I talked a little bit about her books and stuff like that. And from thousands of people all over the world, they've said very similar things, that we came here to be a part of the shift in consciousness. And basically, let me kind of back it up a little bit more. Now, what she noticed, she has a book that's called The 3 Waves of Volunteers in the New Earth. Now, this book is a whole bunch of hypnotherapy sessions where she pieces some stuff together. That's pretty much what her books are. And she talks about how so many people of her clients have said that we came here to be a part of this new earth. So it's what is this new earth, and what are the 3 waves of volunteers? And basically what it was talking about was there are 3 main waves, now way even more than that because that book was written a while ago, maybe 10, 15 years ago or more. But back in the 1930s, there was a wave of souls that came in to be the way showers, to be the first people that were bringing in this light onto the planet. And then in the 60s was the next wave, and then the 90s and till now is the 3rd wave. And the idea behind this is that the system that was held before was the old reality. There's this control dynamic with family bloodlines that may have been running shit for a long period of time, that have had different influences from different. I can get weird with this. So it's I'm on the YouTube channel and it's I'm balancing out what is really weird and what is just a little bit weird. But there are, if ETs exist and have existed for a long time, and there are whistleblowers coming forward now to say that the government knows about this and stuff. There are some ETs that have had very positive influence because they come from a higher level of consciousness. And there are also ETs that have more of a negative influence, that want the control dynamic on the planet. And they may influence certain people with power, greed, and money and things like that. And the idea is that you have to keep this certain system in place so that the control dynamic is there so they can remain in their power, And the thing that has happened, though, is so many people all over the world that are here right now that have been through these hypnotherapy sessions and stuff like that have said, we came here to be a part of this shift in consciousness. Now, as souls, We are eternal spiritual beings that are living temporary human experiences. Now, very common in Dolores Cannon's material, what she talks about is she talks about how Earth is a form of school. We come to Earth, and it's a school ground where we are learning different lessons and we're learning different things about ourselves. Now, the school of Earth can be a very challenging school. But what they've also said through these books is that only very strong souls come to Earth. And I know that we can get into a little bit of significance of thinking, I'm also special, we're also highly evolved. But in general, it takes quite a bit of energy to come to Earth, because when you come to Earth, you completely forget who you are. And you have to go through a process of remembering who you are. And that's very challenging. Now, another thing in Dolores Cannon's material that she talks about, or that her clients talk about, is that many of us came here and we offsetted a lot of the pain with that of the pain of like the stuff that we went through early on in childhood was there because it created pressure for us to wake up. So the thing that you want to become aware of is that some of the stuff you may have gone through when you were a kid was there to help give you the fuel to wake up and to have a spiritual awakening. I know that I see that a lot of the things I went through earlier on in life were there to help me wake up, to help me go through a spiritual awakening so I can actually add value to people. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now if I didn't go through the pain I went through growing up. Now, one interesting thing that says in her content as well is that when it comes to the energy dynamics, you incarnated also because there may have been some type of karma or some type of energy that you wanted to resolve with other people in your life. A lot of the people in your life may have also had many other lives with you. So you're playing out different energy dynamics with these other people. So your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your girlfriend, your wife, your husband may have in another life been a family member. They may have been a romantic partner. They may have been many things. Your mom may have been your daughter in a past life. You never know. But in this material, it talks about how we sometimes will reverse the roles and we'll try it from different angles so that we can learn different lessons. And what happened with the 3 waves of volunteers, just to kind of summarize some of the teachings, and this will kind of all make sense, is what they say happened through thousands of different people all over the world is that in the material, in these 19 books, it says that through many clients, what they said is that at a certain point, there was a call that was put out into the universe. And that this call that was put out into the universe was about that of the Mother Earth, or whatever we want to call the planet, needed help. And what was happening is in the 1920s and 1930s, we were starting to experiment with nuclear bombs. And that when we were experiencing with nuclear bombs, what happened is there was very clearly seen that if we continued to do what we were doing, we'd end up destroying ourselves 100 years in the future. So what was happened is Mother Earth, Mother Gaia, whatever we want to call the reality that we're in right now, put out a call that said, I need help. Humans are going to destroy themselves. And there is a rule with Earth. The rule is that we have free will here. Our free will on Earth is that we're allowed to do what we want to experience what we're experiencing for the experience. But once what we're doing starts to affect other reality systems, that's when it's a no-no. And what happens is when a nuclear bomb goes off, it doesn't just affect Earth, it ripples out and affects other reality systems. So what happened then is that that call was put out because also it's a no-no. You can't affect other reality systems with these nuclear bombs. It affects more than just us. So what happened then is out of love to Mother Earth as well, many of us may have had lives on, because there's these different reality systems we can live in. And we're eternal spiritual beings living temporary human experiences. We forget that when we come here, but we also have lives on other planets and other reality systems. Right now, by the way, right now, like when you go to bed at night, there's different levels of connections that you have that you forget about. That's what it talks about in the Dolores Cannon material. That's what it talks about. A lot of ancient philosophy and a lot of ancient wisdom has talked about how we're eternal spiritual beings living temporary human experiences. There are many different religions and other ancient texts that have talked about connections to ETs. So I know some of this sounds weird, but again, there's been an agenda to keep a lot of this information within a certain bandwidth so that people don't perceive of it, because maybe it'll awaken a lot of people to like an expansiveness of stop not being in the hamster wheel of like, got to pay my taxes, got to do this, got to do that. So in general, there was a call that was put out, and many of us felt a connection to Earth, and we knew that it wasn't going to be easy to come here, to forget who we are, to remember who we are, but we knew that it was something that we wanted to do. We were up to the challenge. So what we did is we made the choice to come here, forget who we are, to remember who we are, because we together wanted to try to shift the trajectory of the planet so that we don't destroy ourselves. And if this resonates with you guys right now, can you like this video or comment below and let me know? I know this is esoteric concepts, but I'll make more videos like this. I'm just curious to see what you guys think about that, to see how far out this is for you, or if this is something that resonates with you. But in general, let me share. There's like one or two little quotes here I want to share with you. Here's one from the 3 Ways of Volunteers. It says, when we go someplace, we leave a part of our energy there, and we influence more than we can ever imagine. So some of you might be like, well, how is this changing the planet? Well, realize this, there's a collective consciousness around the planet, and we're all connected. As the rule is, and now you might see, like, this is another important part of the concept of this awakening on the planet and the new Earth, is why don't the ETs just land with their higher vibrational technology and their higher level of consciousness and save us? Well, the reason being is because there's free will here. But one of the things is there's I think it's in Star Trek, there's this example where there's like, they're not allowed in Star Trek to influence certain planets that are on a certain level of their development and their growth. And it's actually, from what the science, or from what these books say, and from what other things, other resources have said, is that it's very similar here. That's part of the free will, is that we have to be empowered to transform our lives from the inside out. So the rule is, we're not going to be saved. They're not going to come down and give us all this technology. We have to do the work. We need to get out of the savior mentality. But part of this too is us realizing that if we can't just land and tell and like stop the control that's going on the planet as these higher dimensional beings, then we incarnate, we go through the system itself. And what we do is we forget who we are to remember who we are, and the energy we're putting out is transforming the planet. And that's why one thing that I want to do with these videos, with these meditations, with everything, is I like for us to come together to shift our level of consciousness using the power of group dynamics and group energy. What they've showed is the Maharishi effect. When 5,000 people were meditating on global peace and love, the crime on the planet, violent crimes, went down 70% or more for a certain period of time. When we unify our intentions and our emotion together, it can powerfully change the planet. Now, what we can begin to do is we have to also continuing to do our own work, because we can't really add value to other people. I know something that happened in the book. It's like there's this 3D to 5D Earth split that is said is going to happen. The 3D to 5D Earth split is like there's these, right now for a while, we can go back and forth between 3D and 5D. And Bashar's kind of confirmed them in a metaphorical way as well. We can go into the fear, we can go into the pain, we can go into the old structure, or right now as well, there's a 5D level of consciousness available on the planet. And when it comes to the 5D level of consciousness, it's about being present to the moment, choosing level of fear, community, connecting with other people. It's about realizing you're a new version of you every moment. It's about choosing your passion, being different, owning who you are. These are all Aquarian ideas and 5D level of consciousness ideas that we can embody right now. And the 5 to 3D Earth split is that as time goes on, it's going to be harder and harder to make the jump back and forth. It's like it's going to become further and further away. It's going to be harder to even feel that. And I know that sometimes I'll be talking to someone that'll be maybe like tell me a draining story. And the more I hear it, the more it's like I can look at it, I can observe it, but it's getting a little bit harder for me to really be an energy that I don't necessarily resonate with. And one thing that you want to do, and the signs that you're moving into this higher frequency, is that you're waking up and you're starting to become aware of the contrast, right? As we talked about. Now, another sign is that you're looking and searching for deeper meaning in your life. The 9-to-5 job maybe doesn't resonate anymore. Maybe a relationship that seems very surface level isn't resonating anymore. And what you're realizing is that there's something you're more passionate about that you want to be focused on. And maybe it's finding your purpose. I think in this new age, like one of the benefits of the old system falling apart is that a lot of people, maybe they're, I used to work at Barney's New York in women's shoes. And I ended up then going full-time on YouTube, but that whole company went bankrupt and they're not even around anymore. And it's requiring people to find out, like, okay, I'm not at this job anymore. What am I really passionate about? What really lights me up? It can be an opportunity for many of you to find out something that you'd actually be passionate about. So that's another aspect of this. Another sign is that you're starting to more so look for truth. And this has blown my mind more and more. My grandma, who's been like she's like super liberal into politics, super like watching the news all the time. And recently, when I saw her, she told me something very interesting. She's like, yeah, well, everything you see on the news is BS anyways. And I'm like, what? You've been watching the news for like so many years. She's like, yeah, I believe this thing happened in a lab and all this stuff. I'm like, Nana, like you're saying all this stuff? Like, I mean, I know there's proof there and there's like actual, there's actually proof of that stuff now, even though the media probably doesn't talk about it very much. But it's interesting to see the levels to which people are waking up and even the age demographics and the age group. But people are fed up of the lies, the control, the fear, and they're starting to question things. They're starting to seek truth. And then with truth, they're also seeking meaning. Find out what am I really passionate about? What is my actual meaning? And they're starting to not be as moved by some of these things as before. So real quick, let me also share some of these differences between 3D and 5D. So 3D consciousness, I'll put this chart right here. 3D consciousness is more ego-based identity. Separation consciousness. We've bought into believing that we're all separate. We're not all connected. Conditional love. I think narcissism and, narcissists and gaslighting, that's a very 3D concept. The belief is we believe maybe in being a victim. Seeing is believing. Logical thinking, seeing duality. Like everything's either good or bad, or it's either the Illuminati or it's this or it's all that, right? Denser energies, manifestations are slowing down. Also part of the 3D mentalities, I got to work really, really hard to get things to happen. I got to grind, even if I'm not passionate about it. The mind, it's thinking from the mind. It's scarcity mindset. There's not enough to go around. Now, the 5D level of consciousness, this is like a metaphor, but this is also an energy. It's about using soul-based identity. Who did you come here to be? Knowing that we're all connected. There's unity consciousness. It's unconditional love and acceptance of ourselves and others. We realize we are creating our own reality. Believing is seeing. So it's realize you must first believe it to then see it. It is a higher energy, being connected to a higher self and manifesting from your heart. So it's about connecting to all of this, realizing abundance is our natural state. It's around us at all times. But what we can begin to do is we can begin to make new choices and to be these new versions of ourselves. So manifestations, I think, will even get easier in the sense that when you're aligned, things will happen easier. I know that for me, I'm being called to do live events, this virtual live event, even live events in person. And it's like this new level of my soul's expression, but I'm getting so tired of doing the old things, making videos, doing whatever I was doing. And I just feel it is time I shift into this new version of me. And I think that right now on the planet, many of you may be feeling the same exact thing. Let me know if you are. And there are 6 steps as well that will help you move into this new level of consciousness in 2022 and beyond. So if you haven't checked out that video, these are the next 6 steps you can take exactly step by step that will help you on this journey of transformation. Go to watch that video and watch how that will change your life. This episode, I'm going to show you the 6 steps that you can use to completely transform your life in 2020.